After I politely declined a coworker's advances, he told everyone in the break room, she's playing hard to get because she's got daddy issues. Probably crying in the bathroom right now. When I returned, red-eyed, he shouted across the room, told you. Look at her. I bit my lip, sat down, and pulled out the recording I had sent straight to HR. Watching him get escorted out was the sweetest thing I ever saw. I don't cause trouble at work. Never have. I'm the one who shows up on time, does her job, smiles politely, and goes home. I don't get involved in office drama, and I don't flirt around either. It's just not me. When Rick got hired at our tech office outside Raleigh, North Carolina, I could tell from the first week that he was going to be a problem. He had that loud laugh you could hear from across the floor. Always leaning over women's desks, getting a little too close. Always trying to turn every conversation into a joke about sex, or drinking, or hookups. I kept my distance. When he first approached me, I stayed polite. Smiled tightly. Answered questions with short words. He didn't get the hint. Rick wasn't the type who picked up on those things. He thought any attention was a green light. The first time he asked me out, I kept it simple. No, thank you. I'm not interested. He laughed like I was telling a joke. The second time, a week later, it was different. He cornered me while I was pouring coffee in the break room. No one else was there. Come on, he said, dropping his voice like we were sharing some secret. We could have a good time. Bet you're not as innocent as you act. I felt sick. I pulled my cup away and said it a little louder this time. I said no. Please leave me alone. His smile twisted. Hard to get, huh? I left without another word. I thought maybe he'd be embarrassed enough to back off. I should have known better. The next Friday started off normal. I had a lot on my plate, reports to finish, emails piling up. I skipped lunch, trying to get ahead of things. I took a quick bathroom break in the early afternoon. Just a few minutes. Cried a little. Quietly. Not because of Rick, not yet, but because sometimes life just stacks up on you. Stress, loneliness, exhaustion. It all caught up in that little bathroom stall. I wiped my face, looked at myself in the mirror, gave myself the usual pep talk, you're fine. Just finish the day. Go home. Rest. When I walked back into the break room to grab my bag, that's when it happened. Rick was standing right in the middle of the room, holding court like he always did. Half the team was there, people from IT, marketing, HR. And he said it. Loud. Clear. She's playing hard to get because she's got daddy issues. Probably crying in the bathroom right now. A wave of laughter. Awkward, forced, uncomfortable, but it was still laughter. People who didn't even know me that well looked at me funny. Like I was some sad, broken little girl. My whole body locked up. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. I didn't cry, though. Not this time. I turned and walked out without a word. In the bathroom, I sat on the closed toilet lid, staring at the floor. Not thinking. Just burning. Burning with shame. Burning with rage. I could hear his voice over and over in my head, daddy issues. Playing hard to get. Crying in the bathroom. Every word stabbed deeper. But underneath all that, there was something else. A cold, solid thing growing in my gut. I wasn't going to let this slide. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app. Scrolled back to today's date. Listened. There it was. Clear as a bell. Every disgusting word. I saved it. Labeled it. Emailed it directly to HR with the subject line. Hostile workplace behavior, recorded evidence attached. Short. Professional. No drama. I sat there for a second after hitting send. Then I stood up, fixed my hair in the mirror, and walked back into that break room. The second I stepped in, Rick spotted me. Grinned. Raised his voice. Told you. Look at her. The room went dead silent. People shifted uncomfortably. Some stared at their coffee cups. Others watched me, wide-eyed. I didn't say anything. I didn't smile. I sat down at the table, pulled out my phone, opened the recording, and hit play. Rick's own voice filled the room. She's playing hard to get because she's got daddy issues. Probably crying in the bathroom right now. His face dropped. The laughter stopped. For a second, you could hear nothing but the hum of the vending machine. And then, right on cue, the door opened. 2 HR reps. One man, one woman. Both looking deadly serious. They walked right up to Rick. Rick, the man said calmly, we need you to come with us. Rick laughed. Tried to play it off. What? Come on, you're kidding, right? It was just a joke. The woman didn't even blink. Now. The look on Rick's face. God, I'll never forget it. A mix of confusion, fear, and rage. He kept glancing at me, like I was supposed to stand up and say it was all a misunderstanding. But I didn't move. I just sat there, my hands folded neatly in my lap, watching. They made him pack his desk right then and there. No goodbye. No excuses. Just gone. As he walked out with HR on either side of him, dragging a cardboard box full of his junk, he tried one last time. You're ruining my life, you know that, he hissed at me under his breath. I didn't answer. Because in that moment, he didn't matter. Not anymore. After Rick got escorted out, the office wasn't the same. At first, it was quiet. A weird, heavy silence hung over everything. Some people avoided me altogether. A few others gave me these awkward smiles in the hallway, like they didn't know what to say. And a couple, the ones who used to laugh at Rick's gross jokes, started whispering behind my back. I could feel it every time I walked into a room. The tension. The side eyes. The fake smiles. At first, I didn't care. I thought, good. Let them be uncomfortable. But it didn't stop there. 2 days after Rick was fired, I got called into HR. They sat me down in a glass-walled conference room. The head of HR, Mr. Peters, smiled in that fake way people do when they're about to say something terrible. We're very sorry about what you went through, he said. We take these matters very seriously. I nodded, waiting. But, he continued, clearing his throat, there's been some concern among your coworkers. About the recording. I frowned. What concern? Well, some employees feel uncomfortable knowing that conversations in the workplace might be recorded. I stared at him. You mean they're mad I had proof of harassment? I said, my voice flat. He gave me this oily little smile. It's not about the content. It's about the principle. The principle. Right. I sat there, feeling like the ground under me was shifting. They weren't punishing Rick anymore. They were coming after me. Mr. Peters leaned forward. We just want to remind you that recording in the workplace without consent can be a violation of company policy. But there's no policy against it, I said calmly. I had already checked. Twice. He blinked. We're reviewing that. I left the meeting feeling cold all over. It was clear. Rick might have been fired, but he wasn't the only snake in the building. Over the next few weeks, the pressure kept building. Projects I was supposed to lead got reassigned to other people. Emails I sent started going missing. Meetings I used to be invited to suddenly forgot to include me. It wasn't one big thing. It was death by 1,000 cuts. The worst part? People I thought were decent, people I ate lunch with, worked late with, joked with, acted like I was toxic now. Like just being around me could get them in trouble. I went from invisible to radioactive overnight. And then the rumors started. Little whispers in the bathroom. Snickering in the hallways. She's a drama queen. She recorded all of us, you know. You can't even talk around her. Someone even started calling me the snitch behind my back. I found out later that Rick had a buddy in IT. One who still worked there. Word was, after Rick got fired, this buddy started feeding stories to anyone who would listen. Stories about me. Twisted, nasty stories. It wasn't just about what happened in the break room anymore. They painted me like I was some cold, calculating snake who was out to ruin men for fun. Some people actually believed it. One night, after a long, miserable day, I stayed late to finish a report. The office was almost empty. As I was leaving, I found a sticky note stuck to my car window. It said, "Rat." Just that one word. Black marker. All caps. I stood there, the cold wind whipping through the parking lot, staring at it. My hands shook. Not from fear. From rage. Pure, burning rage. They thought they could push me out. They thought they could scare me. They had no idea what I was about to do. I didn't cry when I found that note on my car. I didn't even rip it off. I left it there. I drove home with that sticky note flapping against my windshield, blocking part of my view, a constant reminder of what they thought of me. It made me angrier with every mile. By the time I got home, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to let them win. I wasn't going to slink away like some scared animal. If they wanted a villain so badly, I'd be the villain. But I was going to do it the smart way. The quiet way. The legal way. That night, I started gathering everything. Every email. Every Slack message. Every weird meeting cancellation. Every lost project assignment. Every little thing they'd done to push me out. I made a timeline. I printed everything. I took screenshots. I backed it all up on a hard drive. Then I started making calls. Not to a lawyer, not yet. First, I called a journalist. There's a local paper in Raleigh that loves a good workplace harassment story. They had run pieces before about bad behavior at tech companies, especially ones that tried to silence employees instead of fixing the real problems. I didn't tell them my full name at first. I just gave them the facts. They were very interested. At the same time, I quietly reached out to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. Told them everything. Sent them my proof. They took me seriously right away. Apparently, the sticky note on my car was the final nail, clear retaliation. And retaliation, they explained, was illegal. It wasn't just about Rick anymore. It was about the company letting a hostile environment grow around me after I reported harassment. While all that was brewing in the background, things at work kept getting worse. One morning, I came in and found that my desk had been moved. Not just to a different part of the floor, no. They moved me into a cramped little copy room. No windows. No natural light. Just me and a bunch of whirring, clanking printers all day. When I asked why, my manager, a tight-lipped woman named Susan, shrugged. Just a reorganization, she said. Sure. That same week, someone slipped a fake write-up into my HR file. It accused me of creating a hostile environment and making coworkers uncomfortable. I knew it was fake because I had never been disciplined, not once, in my 5 years there. But suddenly, here it was. An official warning. One more fake warning, and they could legally fire me. That was the game now. They didn't want me to quit. They wanted me to snap. They wanted me to storm out in tears or rage so they could call me unstable and wipe their hands clean. I almost laughed when I realized it. They were scared of me. But they should have been more scared. Because by then, the reporter I talked to? She was about to publish. And the EEOC? They had just opened a full investigation. One Thursday afternoon, right before lunch, everything cracked wide open. The article hit front page of the local business section. Tech company in Raleigh faces harassment and retaliation allegations from former employee. They called me a former employee even though I hadn't quit yet, probably to protect my privacy. They didn't use my real name. But they included everything else, the recording of Rick, blurred but clear enough for insiders to recognize. The sticky note incident. The fake write-up. The way they isolated me after reporting harassment. They even dug deeper, found 2 other women who used to work there who told similar stories about Rick, and about management covering it up. When I walked into the office that day, it was like walking into a funeral. Dead silent. Everyone stared at me. Some people looked angry. Some looked scared. Some looked guilty. Susan, my manager, marched over to my desk, or, really, my copy room, and hissed, "You need to leave. Now." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Talk to my lawyer." Because yes, by that point, I had hired one. A very good one. One who specialized in whistleblower cases. And we weren't just talking severance anymore. We were talking lawsuit. Real money. Real consequences. For Rick. For Susan. For every coward who tried to smear my name instead of doing the right thing. After Susan told me to leave, I didn't move. I sat right there in the copy room, hands folded calmly on the desk. She stood over me, red-faced and shaking, waiting for me to get up and make it easy for her. I didn't. Instead, I picked up my office phone and called the number my lawyer gave me, his direct line. Susan's face changed when she realized who I was talking to. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just calmly described what was happening while she stood there, practically vibrating with anger. Within 20 minutes, my lawyer sent an official notice to the company. Any attempt to fire, discipline, or force me out after the article broke would be considered further retaliation, and grounds for an even bigger lawsuit. They backed off fast. Susan stomped away, and I stayed in my little windowless copy room, finishing out the day like nothing happened. That night, my phone exploded. Old coworkers, people who had left the company months or even years ago, started reaching out. Alyssa, who used to be in accounting, told me she left because of the same toxic culture, men like Rick getting protected, women getting punished for speaking up. Marco, who worked IT before Rick's buddy, told me that Rick had been written up twice before for harassment, but the write-ups were mysteriously lost from his file right before he was promoted to team lead. Piece by piece, the full picture started to come together. It wasn't just Rick. It wasn't just Susan. It was the whole rotten management team. Covering for each other. Throwing anyone under the bus who made noise. Meanwhile, things inside the office got uglier. Someone started printing copies of the news article and leaving them in random places, the bathroom, the kitchen, even tucked into people's cubicles. Nobody knew who was doing it. Management freaked out. They sent an all-staff email threatening serious consequences if anyone spread false narratives about the company. But it was too late. The story had gone viral. Local news picked it up. Then bigger outlets. Pretty soon, anyone Googling the company's name saw it right there in the search results: toxic workplace allegations, lawsuit pending. Recruiters stopped calling. Partnerships got cancelled. Even some of our bigger clients started pulling out of deals. I heard one sales guy mutter under his breath, "We're screwed," after losing a huge account. Management tried to save face. They sent out a memo about taking allegations seriously and implementing new workplace conduct training. They announced a bunch of listening sessions and open-door policies. It was all crap. Everyone could see through it. People started quitting. Fast. Not just low-level employees either, senior engineers, marketing directors, client managers. One by one, the smart ones bailed. The ones who stayed behind? They were either too scared to leave, too close to retirement, or too loyal to the broken system. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get more twisted, Rick came back. Not to the office. No. He went on social media. He posted this long, ranting Facebook update about being unfairly targeted and set up by vindictive women who can't take a joke. He even hinted at suing me for defamation. Of course, he didn't mention that he got himself fired with his own damn mouth. He didn't mention the recording. Or the witnesses. Or the HR reps who walked him out like a criminal. But he had his little army of friends and trolls who flooded the comments with support. She's lying. She probably flirted with him first. Another #MeToo witch hunt. It made me sick to my stomach. But here's the thing about liars like Rick. They always dig their own graves if you give them enough rope. Because guess what? Rick's little rant wasn't just disgusting. It was stupid. Legally stupid. My lawyer smiled when I showed it to him. We can use this, he said. Rick had publicly admitted to targeting me, and he'd opened himself up to a counter-lawsuit for defamation and harassment. He was so busy playing the victim online, he didn't even realize he was handing me more ammunition. Meanwhile, the EEOC investigation kept growing. They started interviewing my coworkers. They pulled security footage. They subpoenaed emails and internal messages. Every dirty little secret was getting dragged into the light. Management couldn't stop it. They couldn't spin it. They couldn't bury it. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I realized I wasn't the one on trial anymore. They were. Weeks passed, and the investigation started closing in. I could see it on everyone's faces at work. The forced smiles, the tight shoulders, the whispering behind closed doors. It wasn't just about Rick anymore. It was about who knew, who helped cover it up, who stayed quiet to save their own skin. One afternoon, out of nowhere, Susan got walked out by security. No warning. No announcement. Just 1 minute she was at her desk, barking at people like usual, and the next she was stuffing her purse with shaking hands, her face ghost pale. Word spread fast. Susan was out. Nobody knew exactly what the investigators found, but we all had a good idea. And she wasn't the only one. By the end of the week, 2 senior managers resigned suddenly. An HR rep got quietly fired, the same one who tried to warn me about recording without consent. And Rick's buddy in IT? He disappeared overnight. No goodbye email. Nothing. The rats were jumping ship. Meanwhile, I kept my head down and did my job like nothing was happening. It drove them crazy. The ones who stayed, the ones who whispered and glared, they hated that I was still there, calm as hell, not backing down. They wanted me angry. They wanted me broken. I gave them nothing. And then, just when things seemed like they couldn't sink lower, a new email hit my inbox. This one wasn't from HR. It wasn't from my lawyer. It wasn't even from the EEOC. It was from an anonymous account. The subject line just said, "You need to see this." Inside was a short message, they knew. They always knew. Attached as proof. And there was a single PDF file attached. I hesitated, it could have been fake or dangerous, but curiosity won. I opened it. What I saw made my stomach flip. It was a chain of internal emails. Between Susan, Rick, 2 other managers, and, shockingly, the head of HR. They were talking about me. Directly. They laughed about how I overreacted to Rick's comments. They joked about moving me to the copy room to keep her away from real employees. One of them even wrote, "If she doesn't quit soon, we'll find a reason to fire her. Start documenting performance issues." Another email said, "Make sure nothing about Rick's past incidents shows up if EEOC asks. We're exposed enough already." And at the bottom, the kicker, someone had written, "Just make her uncomfortable. She'll leave." It was a smoking gun. Proof that everything I'd suspected was true. Proof that it wasn't bad luck or miscommunication, it was a deliberate, organized plan to break me. I sat there staring at the screen, my hands trembling with rage. Not fear. Rage. I sent the file straight to my lawyer. Within an hour, he called me. "This changes everything," he said. His voice sounded different, sharper, more serious. "This isn't just a harassment case now. This is retaliation, defamation, workplace conspiracy, discrimination." He listed off charges like he was reading from a menu. "And with the media attention," he added, "they're going to want to settle big." That night, for the first time in months, I slept easy. Because now, I wasn't just defending myself. I was going on the attack. They tried to bury me. They didn't realize I was a damn earthquake. The moment my lawyer had that email chain, everything changed. He filed an updated lawsuit. Bigger now. Louder. Not just against Rick. Not just against management. Against the entire company. It made the news again. Bigger news this time. Not just local. Regional. National. Articles everywhere. The company name dragged across headlines. Phrases like toxic retaliation and targeting whistleblowers everywhere. Clients started pulling out fast. Investors started calling for resignations. By the time the CEO sent out a sad little statement about reviewing internal practices, the building was already burning down around him. A week after the lawsuit hit the courts, I got an email. Settlement offer. It was a big number. Really big. Bigger than I thought they would ever offer. Big enough that I could walk away, pay off my house, go back to school if I wanted, take a year off, anything. I stared at that number on the screen for a long time. I could almost taste it. Freedom. Validation. Victory. But there was a catch. There's always a catch. If I accepted the settlement, I had to sign an NDA. A gag order. No more talking about what happened. No more interviews. No more Reddit posts. Nothing. Silent forever. They wanted to buy my silence. For 2 days, I didn't sleep. My lawyer told me it was smart to take it. It was guaranteed money. Clean break. He wasn't wrong. I almost clicked accept. I hovered over that button, my hand shaking. But something inside me wouldn't let me do it. I thought about the sticky note on my car. I thought about being shoved into a windowless room like trash. I thought about the way Rick laughed, thinking he could humiliate me and walk away clean. I thought about all the other women who left before me, too scared or too tired to fight. And I realized. I didn't want just money. I wanted blood. So I said no. I rejected the settlement. I told my lawyer we were going to trial. For the record, this was probably my mistake. From a smart, safe perspective, I should have taken the deal. It was guaranteed. A trial was a gamble. Courts are messy. Juries are unpredictable. Judges can be biased. There was a chance I could lose. But I didn't care. I didn't just want to survive. I wanted to win. I wanted them punished. The company tried everything after that. They launched a fake PR campaign claiming they were committed to diversity and inclusion. They tried to discredit me, leaking bits of my HR file to certain bloggers to make it look like I was unstable. They even had former employees, the ones still loyal to them, post fake anonymous stories about how I was toxic and unprofessional. It backfired. Badly. The internet wasn't stupid. People saw right through it. They saw a scared, corrupt company flailing in the dark. And every desperate move they made just made them look worse. The trial date came. I showed up in a plain black dress. No makeup. No fancy jewelry. Just me, simple and steady. Rick was there too, sitting next to the company's expensive lawyers, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. No jokes now. No smug grin. Just a man watching his whole life crumble. Susan wasn't there. She had already settled separately, and part of her deal involved throwing Rick and upper management under the bus. Good. Let them turn on each other. The trial lasted 2 weeks. 2 brutal, exhausting, emotionally raw weeks. I sat there and listened as they tried to paint me as angry, vengeful, unstable. I sat there as old coworkers twisted the truth to save their own skins. I sat there as Rick smirked during parts of the testimony, like he still thought somehow he could charm his way out of this. But then my lawyer played the recording again. Then he showed the email chain. Then he showed the fake write-ups. Piece by piece, brick by brick, the whole filthy wall they built collapsed in front of everyone. The jury didn't take long. They found in my favor. Unanimously. The damages they awarded me were 3 times what the settlement offer had been. And more than that, the company was ordered to publicly apologize. No secret agreements. No hidden deals. An actual public apology. Admitting they retaliated against me. Admitting they failed to protect employees. Admitting that everything I said was true. It was in the papers. It was online. It was broadcast on the news. Everyone saw it. Rick? He didn't just lose his job. He couldn't find another one. Every company he applied to Googled his name and saw the headlines. Everywhere he went, he was radioactive. Last I heard, he moved out of state, trying to start over somewhere nobody knew his name. But the internet never forgets. Neither do I. The company? They bled out slowly. Clients gone. Employees quitting. Lawsuits piling up. 6 months after the trial ended, they announced massive layoffs. A year later, they sold what was left to a competitor for pennies on the dollar. Their name, the brand they fought so hard to protect, was wiped off the map. Good riddance. Me? I didn't come out completely clean. I lost friends. I lost trust in a lot of people. I lost my peace for a long, long time. Some days, even now, I wonder if it was worth it. If maybe I should have taken the money, walked away, let it go. But then I remember what they did. I remember that if I hadn't fought, they would have just done it again to the next girl. And the next. And the next. They thought they could destroy me. They thought they could break me. They didn't. They exposed me. They sharpened me. They made me into something they couldn't control. And that? That was the sweetest revenge of all.